Dear brothers and sisters, be not afraid. My therapist told me that while Western cultures often push us to believe we must live for a purpose, like work or making money, many indigenous cultures have a different view. They see life as being, like nature, existing simply to be beautiful, to be unique. We don't need to achieve anything to validate our existence or humanity. This perspective has helped me rethink my worth beyond productivity, embracing the beauty in just being. In the face of a general lack of authority and crisis of confidence, we speak boldly and powerfully about God who is love and remain open and project yourself from heresy or schism? Everyone might have a problem with this. Is Putin vulnerable? On BBC Hard Talk, Steven Sachar speaks to Vladimir Karamurza, the anti-Putin activist who was twice poisoned, then imprisoned in Russia. He was freed in a prisoner swap last summer and is now lobbying the West to intensify the pressure on the Kremlin. But is there any reason to believe Putin is vulnerable? Stephen Sachar BC speaks to another time to Arab Barghouti. Will his father shape Palestinians' future? His father, Marwan, is serving life for murder in an Israeli jail, but is widely seen by Palestinians as a potential leader who could unify his people. Does his son believe he will ever be free? Stephen Sachar talks to Angel Thomas, the author whose first novel electrified America with its unflinching portrayal of a teenage black girl facing police violence, inner city gang culture, and a society entrenched in a discrimination. When it comes to race and racism, the chasm between the promise of equality in America and the reality of entrenched inequality seems depressingly wide. Generations of black Americans have struggled to change that. How far have they come? Can hope triumph over fear and hatred? It is always necessary to pray for your neighbor in supporting them. We want to do good for them. It is precisely this kind of love that Jesus appeared to his disciples for. It is about supporting your neighbor, respecting your neighbor as sharing with your neighbor what you have and what you know. At school, a friend shares a sandwich with you. At dad's work, the boss gave him 2 days off because he saw that dad was feeling bad. A lady lost her purse in town and someone gives it back to her instead of taking it for himself. At home, your older sister helps you with your homework. On the internet, someone writes to you example wishes. Let me give you another example. I wanna to tell about it. Holding signs outside funerals for fallen soldiers and celebrating the death of children after school massacres, Westboro Baptist Church has been called the most disgusting and angry hate group in America. From the age of 5, Megan Phelps Roper stood on picket lines and carried those hateful signs. But as an adult tweeting at her online critics, Megan began to have second thoughts. Could she really still consider those who had abused her mind and taught her to hate as her beloved parents? Megan Phelps Roper is a former member of Westboro Baptist Church, an extremist American religious sect based in Topeka, Kansas. She rose to fame after appearing in Louis Theroux's documentary series about the church. Megan left the church in 2012 and has since spoken out, most recently writing about her experiences in her book Unfollow, A Journey from Hatred to Hope, leaving the Westboro Baptist Church. Megan discusses her fascinating story and why the whole world needs to be aware of the dangers of division on BBC program. Warning: this interview contains topic and language that some may find disturbing. In the third millennium of human civilization, we must open ourselves to the wounds that are inflicted on us and be guided by tolerance more than ever. People are happy without God. Let's not convert them. We should not conduct missions, said uh, Bishop of Essen. People are unhappy without God. We must allow them to live their lives. In his opinion, God himself will find a way to lead them to the right path. An increasing number of people in our country live without God, and this is completely obvious to them. They do not need religion, faith, and any church to be happy and satisfied. They often lead fulfilled lives and are not selfish people. For believers, such an attitude is painful. It is difficult to accept that someone does not turn to God even in the most difficult situation in life. The issue of God does not interest him even in connection with death. I appeal for calm. We do not have to conduct missions all over the world, rely on gigantomachia in organizing the most charitable actions, and win people for a specific form of church life. All people are free and will remain so. God will find ways to lead to the right path also those who cannot or do not want to believe in him. Our common being Christians and the church must be understood and lived in such a way that the gospel is an invitation to people, but not coercion or pressure. This is what we can do so that in the future there will be places on being Christian accessible to everyone. At the same time, however, let us leave it to human freedom whether and how they decide to embark on the adventure of following Jesus. The path of today's church is not the path of long-term certainties, universal solutions, and unsolvable structures. Be not afraid. Bishop Franz Joseph from Essen even referred here to Pope Francis, citing his vision of the church which is based on small steps, small numbers, simple words and gestures. We should be aware of divisions in the world, at the same time believe that God will not abandon us, and finally be convinced to the end that in spiritual life we must always move forward. I would like to emphasize this attitude further with vivid images and now quote a poet from my country, Poland, Bolesław Leśmian, first of all his corporeal poem entitled Conversation. The body says to the soul, I am here in these words, where you also wandered, the same path for us. Just look and inhale the scent, rolling flowers. I rub against the sun, against sleep, and against God, of whom you always speak with sadness, as if sadness were faith. Look, I am in the forest now. I am amused by golden gadflies and red mushrooms, and by the fact that the trees around me want to be so green. If you prefer, tell me to get lost in the meadow, and you will see how I will immediately disturb my whiteness with the crimson of tall poppies, whose sudden touch awakens happiness and explains life so clearly. Let only dark ear of corn hit my eyes, and already the word is dawning, and I know what the word means. Do not prevent me from knowing. Be silent while the trees rustle as long as juniper and mint smell. Be silent, the truth is not spoken, but one sings without words. He who knows the words, but does not remember the notes lies. I am from those words where sin dances in fire, sinning, where breasts, lips, and fangs burn, greedy for food, where rose, blood-drenched, bite a white lily, and where the green shriek of grass still sounds in the sun. Do not suppress that shriek. Do not lure me into the darkness of the wilderness. Do not despise me. Do not abandon me. Abandon your afterlife for joint amusements with me. Thus the body speaks to the soul, and the soul, a faint and limited ghost, listens to its whispers and through tears tries to love the same flowers, to pick the same flowers. Quote end. Here the poet's moving confession ends. But another short poem by Bolesław Leśmian entitled Barn. You kissed the girl, but who turned the white of her body, rosy on her lips so that she would kiss you? You allowed the poplars trees to cast the shadow on the road, but who melted them so much into the sky that they gray up high up? You cut the barn in almost 4 days, but who burned it, dressed it in the shape of a barn, so that it would know what it is? That barn girl probably burned it half wayside, half field. Out of 100 words, she emerged alone into the pre-word and looked at the grain that rustles from the bottom. Finally, dear brothers and sisters, I will quote a poem which I would call The Answer to the Mother of God, written by Konstanty Ildefonsz Gałczyński. Title of this poem is by me. Tell me how you love me, I will tell you so. I love you in the sun and in the glow candles. I love you in a hat and a beard, in a big wind on the road, and in a concert, in lilac and birches, and raspberries and maples, and when you sleep and when you work focused, and when you crack in an egg nicely, even when you drop a spoon in a taxi and in car, without exception, and in the end of the street and at the beginning, and when you part your hair with a comb, in danger and on a carousel, in the sea, in the mountains, in galoshes and barefoot, today, yesterday, and tomorrow, day and night, and spring when the swallow flies, and in summer, how do you love me, like the content of summer, and in autumn, when clouds and moods, even when you lose your umbrellas, and when winter silvers the window frames. In winter I love you like a cheerful fire, close to your heart, near it. Quote end. And outside the windows snow crows in the snow. So, a Christian never tires of brothers and sisters.